What's going on, guys? I am Michael Anthony, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Sigma 105 f1.4 art lens for Sony Mount. All right, guys, how you doing today? Welcome to another video. I am going to be taking a look today at the Sigma 105 f1.4 art mount lens specifically for Sony cameras. And guys, this is a lens that I have had for about a year now. I absolutely adore it. So spoiler alert, this is gonna be a good, positive review, but there are a couple of downsides and some reasons why you might not wanna buy this lens that I'm gonna touch on in this video. And I think that overall, it's gonna be something that will be very helpful to you if you are in the process of making a decision to buy this or not, okay? So before we get into this review, let's go ahead and unbox this lens. Let's get into the review right now, but first I want to show you guys some behind the scenes from a shoot that we did with this lens to test out the quality of the amazing bokeh. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, so here we go. This is one of Sigma's most applauded or awarded lenses, and I absolutely love it for a variety of reasons. But when you take it out of the box, the first thing that you're gonna notice is, damn, this thing is heavy. Okay, this is a 3.5 pound lens, or 3.6 pounds, and yeah, it's big, and it's got a massive lens opening front element right here. And just like all of Sigma's other glass, this particular lens is very well built. If you guys are familiar with Sigma's art line, you guys will know that the art line is one of the most well-built, well-rounded series of lenses that Sigma has had to offer. Now, while some of the earlier models were plagued with focus issues, this lens does not suffer from any of that, and I'm going to get into that in just a little bit. But first, going into the build quality, you have a weather seal design that is comprised of 17 elements in the glass that is going to make this monster of a lens that produces some amazing quality images. So when we get into the color from this, because I think that's one of the things that I get asked most often, aside from how good the quality of the bokeh is, how good is the color on this lens? I'm gonna go ahead and just let you guys know that coming from a Canon system, shooting Sony now, color is one of the things that I find the hardest to match. This lens in particular does an excellent job of reproducing the colors that I used to see on my Canon system, and gives you very lifelike skin tones, very good fall off and transitions between colors, which is also complemented by the camera you're using as well too. However, this lens does a very good job of handling those color transitions, especially in the skin tones, because I believe this lens was really made for photographing people. So let's get into the focus speed. If you guys are photographing a subject at f1.4, this lens better be able to handle it, because that is what makes this lens so unique, right? Well, you guys will be happy to know that the focus speed on this lens, in particular with Sony, is absolutely phenomenal. I do not notice a difference in focus speed between using this or my 85 1.4 G Master lens as well too. It performs just like a native lens should be. It's extremely fast, and those of you guys who are utilizing Canon glass right now, if you utilize this with an MC11 adapter, you are going to get the same results. This lens does perform noticeably better than some of Sigma's older glass, like the 35 Art or the 50 Art, when using the MC11 adapter to your Sony body from a Canon mount. However, this is a Sony E-mount version, so it does take that autofocus speed and kicks it up a notch, and it is even more reliable than utilizing the adapter version of it as well too. So going from minimum focus distance to maximum focus distance, it is almost instantaneous. And I'm going to do another review video of our Sony autofocus settings in a little bit, but we happen to use continuous autofocus with the phase detection system on the Sonys, and this particular lens performs just like a native piece of glass. It does a phenomenal job at keeping track of your subjects even when they are moving. improving as well too. All right, so let's get into image quality. Image quality is something I know that many of you guys are wondering about. So I want to compare this lens in particular to another Bokeh master, something super unique, a unicorn of lenses, the Canon 200mm f2.0L lens. I did own that lens for a little while, and that lens is ginormous. So when you look at this lens, even though this is a very, very big lens, it actually looks small when you compare it to a lens like that. Now, when you guys get this out and actually utilize it in the field, you're gonna notice that it produces incredible bokeh, incredible fall off, but it is at a much more manageable focal distance than 200mm as well, and it bridges that gap between the 85mm and the 135mm lenses. And those are two popular focal lengths, but this falling right in between them gives you that like extra compression that you need without having to be way too far away from your subjects to get them all in frame. Yet the bokeh is actually going to be better than utilizing the 135mm at f1.8 or f2.0 depending on the particular camera that you're using. So photographing people with this is just a dream. I mean, when we are taking natural light portraits of people, whenever we're photographing individual subjects like a bride or a high school senior or something like that, this lens performs incredibly. And when you compare this, when you pair this with a high-powered light that does high-speed sync, and you're getting those fast shutter speeds but still keeping your camera at f1.4, you are getting some amazing results that I know everybody watching this video will enjoy if they apply it to their own work as well. Okay, so let's get into the size of this lens. If there is one drawback to this lens, it is definitely going to be the size. So this is where you as a photographer, you have to determine whether or not this is going to be a good fit for you. If you're the type of photographer who carries two cameras on their body, one is maybe a 35, the other one is maybe an 85, and that's all you go photograph a portrait session with, I don't know if this lens is going to be the right fit for you. This lens is really fit at being that it's so heavy, right? It's going to be fit for somebody who is walking around with a roller bag or even a shoulder bag, being able to change lenses out. But I wouldn't want this thing hanging from my body on my camera strap, swinging back and forth. It is just a little too heavy. It's about the same weight as a standard 70 to 200 lens. At least that's what it feels like in my hands. And I don't have numbers to compare it to. I do know this is 3.5 pounds. I don't know what a 70 to 200 weighs, but it feels about the same weight as a 70 to 200 from any of the major manufacturers. Now, when you get into the Sony Mount, you have this extra piece on the back here, which covers that flange distance from where the mirror should typically be, which does make this lens a little bit larger than the Canon or the Nikon versions. But all that being said, I don't typically work like that, right? I'm gonna carry more than two lenses on a photo shoot. I'm gonna have a bag with me where I can change out between, my lenses. So for me, when I photograph with this, I typically leave my 85mm behind. And I'm gonna bring this lens somewhere like a park or a nature center where I have a little bit of extra space. If I'm shooting indoors and space might be a little bit more tight, that is when I'm gonna go and bring the 85 as opposed to this 105. But if I'm shooting at the beach or parks or pretty much everywhere else that I shoot, this is the lens that goes with me in my camera bag, in addition to like a 50, a 135, and a 35mm lens, because those are gonna cover the majority of the focal lengths that I'm using for standard portraits. Now, our wide, epic cinematic images, completely different story, but I'm talking more along the lines of like naturally lit, beautiful, pretty portraits, okay? Now, when we get into some of the other things that I love about this, talking about bokeh for a second. Bokeh is something that, could be used as a crutch. I know a lot of photographers will say that it is, and I agree in some aspects of that. I do think that we should be able to be skilled enough to utilize the compositions that are given to us. But there are times where that beautiful f1.4 natural bokeh just looks amazing, right? And there is a use for it. When you're isolating your subjects from your background or you're taking them out of like a bad environment, that f1.4 aperture, when you pair it with the 105mm focal length, just gives you that combination of compression and creamy background that you can only find in a unique lens like this. So when I compare this to the Canon f2.0 200mm L lens, I do so in the sense that they are both very unique lenses that produce very unique results. And if you are trained to look at those results, you will be able to tell the difference between this lens and an 85mm, because this produces a look that is unique and different and doesn't look the same as the rest of the photographers out there, which if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I'm a big believer in standing out. And this is the type of equipment or the piece of equipment that's gonna help you to stand out amongst your competitors. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the price. As far as Sigma lenses go, Sigma is known for giving you great quality and being affordable at the same time. This lens does give you great quality, and it's moderately affordable depending on what you're comparing it to. Now, the Sigma Art lines I've always felt is a little bit underpriced, and I know there's a lot of people out there that say that they have focus issues with some of the Sigmas, and that may be correct. I personally have never experienced that because I've been using them pretty much since I've been a Sony shooter since 2017, but I do know that some people have been saying that the older versions of these lenses, namely like the 50 and the 35, over time, focus can degrade. And like I said, I've never experienced that with my lenses, but I'm shooting on the Sony system. I can tell you right now that this particular lens does not suffer from any of those issues. I've been shooting with it for over a year now, and I can tell you as a long-term review that the focus is just as good on day one as it is today. Exactly. Okay, but getting into the price, this lens sells for $1,599 brand new at B&H or Adorama or one of those other stores. If you guys are interested in picking one of these up, you can do so using the links down below. But overall, it's not a very expensive lens when you compare it to some of the other things out there. Let's take the Canon f2.0 200mm, and I'm sorry that's a mouthful, I keep throwing it at you, the Canon 200mm L, let's just call it that, and let's compare it to this lens for a second from a price point. That lens is nearly $6,000. So for, $1,599, this is an incredible value when you're looking for something that's going to give you unique imagery that helps your photos to stand out and gives them a look that's going to be a little bit different than some of your competitors. So while this may be a bargain for some of you guys who are professional photographers and you guys are out there shooting in a style that utilizes lots of bokeh and natural light and things like that, this is going to be a great lens for you guys to put into your camera bag. But for those of you who are just starting out and you don't have a unlimited budget for gear, I would start with something a little bit more affordable like an 85 f1.8 and work your way up to this as time goes on. Overall, guys, I think this is an incredible piece of glass. I think it's something that if you guys have the means for it, you should definitely add to your camera bag. In terms of reliability and build quality, obviously those things are going to be there. It's a Sigma Art lens, but more importantly, in terms of the uniqueness and the unique quality that you're going to get from the photos that come from this, I think that this is going to be a lens that helps you stand out and ultimately helps you to make more money. So guys, that's all I have for you today. If you guys like this video, you want us to make more gear reviews, go ahead and drop a comment below. Let us know what you want us to review and give this video a thumbs up if you guys like it. As always, I'm Michael Anthony. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and we'll see you in the next one.